Hey everybody, KC here. So yesterday did a long piece about lessons that could be learned from the problems that Netflix was having, suddenly suffering from a loss of subscribers, something that hadn't happened to Netflix in more than a decade. Well, the news only got worse. So yesterday, this is unbelievable in some ways, Netflix's stock dropped 35%, instantly wiping out $50 billion in terms of market capitalization for the company. I mean, that's really extraordinary. And Variety had a really interesting piece about this, and let me quote from some of it. They wrote, "How much wider can people open up their pocketbooks and wallets for streaming?" This is the problem for Netflix, right? Penetration of subscription video on demand services stood at 81.4% in the first quarter of 2022, according to Kantar, compared with 81.6% in the last quarter of 2021. So it's really, really big, but it's just diminishing just a little bit. Ad-supported streaming services continue to grow, according to the market research firm, but that too is slowing. Penetration of ad-supported services stood at 25.3% in the first quarter, compared with 24.4% at the end of last year. Variety goes on. Simply put, the nation's leading streamers may have reached an intriguing new phase, maturity. Quote, "We are seeing growth in new subscriptions at new services like Peacock and Paramount Plus versus the more established services of Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Amazon," says media analyst Michael Nathanson in a Wednesday morning research note. And this is fascinating. Listen, look at CNN Plus, right? CNN decides to launch a brand new streaming service, and they've already decided not to put any more promotional ad dollars against it. And the general feeling is it's not going to last very long. Now, granted, in this case, it may be partially because suddenly the company that owns CNN is a new company that's just been sold from AT&T to Discovery. They bought it, now they're looking at everything, trying to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. You know, I sort of believe what Scott Galloway says about this particular situation, which is this new entity, Discovery Warner, has something like $55 billion in debt. And the people who are running it, they're already looking at trying to figure out what can they sell. Interesting idea. What if they sold HBO to Netflix? Would Netflix be worth more if they could acquire HBO and all of its content? It's an interesting idea, and suddenly it would sort of change the calculation for Netflix. They're also probably looking at, who do we sell CNN to? And I have no idea what the answer to that question is. Now, what does this have all to do with retailing? I actually think a lot. Because here's the thing retailers have to understand. It's going to get tougher for everyone in the coming weeks, weeks and months. It's time to take a hard look at your business and decide whether you have what it takes to really move forward and weather all the challenges you're going to face in the coming days. And should you have an alliance? Should you be selling to somebody? And when I say, do you have what it takes? I'm talking about, do you have the right people? Do you have the vision? Do you have the strategy, the tactics, the technology to make it all work? And ultimately, do you have the resources to compete in a very, very difficult environment? Here's the deal. I absolutely believe in terms of retail, as well as apparently in the streaming business, that we're engaged in a game of musical chairs, right? The music is playing, and companies are going to have to make some hard decisions about whether they're going to have a place to sit down or whether it's time to look for another option, okay? And it may not be what they necessarily want to do, but this new reality that we're all facing, it could change the calculation for a lot of companies. They may have to change a different game, play a different game, and change to a different tune. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.